Hi, I'm Lance Lambert. Thanks for tuning in to the Vintage Vehicle Show. We are in Lake Stevens, Washington at the Lake Stevens Aquafest Car Show. This is a great gathering, about 150 cars here today. It's in the 90s, it's very warm, but we're having a great time. You are going to meet some really nice people, see some great cars, and as you do every week, hear some really good music. So do what I tell you to do every week. Just kick back, relax, and enjoy the show. Standing here with Steve Pratt and his beautiful 1962 Dodge 440, a very rare car. We were walking around and I don't know that I've ever seen one. Tell us about it.
Okay, it's one of three known to exist of the 62 Dodge Dart 440 with the 413 Max Wedge engine. It has the original engine and transmission in the car, and we have the documented history back to the original owner. And it's really rare. Like I say, it's one of three known to exist. They build about 225 to 245 62 model Dodge Max Wedges in May and June of 62. What's really unique about this car is that it's the better model. It's the Dart 440 two-door hardtop, which and it has all the chrome trim. And the guy that ordered the car, we've talked to him down in California. He still lives there, and he ordered it from San Fernando Valley Dodge, and he lives in Van Nuys, and he ordered the car with radio, heater, deluxe steering wheel, clock, padded dash, which were all pretty rare options for they sound like common things, but most Max Wedge cars were post sedans, no radio, no heater, no nothing, because they're factory race cars. It has all the original intake manifold, exhaust manifolds, and the exhaust factory cutouts, which were really unique for 1962. So they were factory-built drag race cars.
What is the actual performance numbers of it? What kind of horsepower do we have, cubic inches?
It's 413 cubes and 410 horse. This is the 11.5 compression ratio engine. They made a hotter one, which was 13.5 compression. This is 11.5 model, and It has a 391 rear end differential gears, which are factory stock. That's what it came with. So
Transmission?
It's a torque light, 3-speed torque light, 727, which is a rock solid transmission. So.
How is it that a 440 designation is a 413 engine?
Well, the Dart 440 is the model of the car. The engine's a 413. People always mix that up, but because later Chrysler in 1967 came out with a 440 engine. In 62, though, 413 was the biggest engine you could get. So.
Do you find people recognize this for what it is? When you're at a car show, people are walking around, and did they stop in their tracks, or do some of them just think, oh, nice old Dodge, and don't realize what's before them?
Well, people that are knowledgeable about cars know what the car is, but if you just have the car sitting here like it is now with the hood down, they don't, obviously there's nothing on the car that says it's a max wedge, so you have to open the hood. And it's kind of fun to watch people walk by, because they'll walk by and give it a glance, then when they see, look under the hood, then they stop and really give it a once-over, and it's a lot of fun. It's a really fun car to have, because you just don't see them. There were very few built.
Have you taken it out to the eighth mile or quarter-mile drags or anything like that with it?
No.
Or is your insurance agent watching and you can't answer that?
Well, actually, I could do that, but with the insurance we have, but I prefer not to. I like to drive the car and show the car, and I'm a little hesitant to try to drag race a car that's 47 years old now. So.
Well, Steve, it is an absolutely beautiful car. Thank you very much for allowing us to have it on the Vintage Vehicle Show, and very unusual. I like that. That's great. Dave Brock, I have been looking at this car for decades. This is a very famous 58 Corvette that you have. Tell us a little bit about it.
I bought the car in 1983, and so it's been around a long time. Bought it as a basket case, and just worked on it and worked on it, and about it's been 14 years since I've been showing the car. And so it had done the show circuit since the 60s. It was in the World's Fair in 1962, and it had done the Tacoma show and all of this area for many years.
This was at the base of the Space Needle at the 62 Seattle World's Fair, correct?
Well, actually, it was at the Science Center, and that's where they had a very small car show, and they had it all roped off, and the owner of the car got a phone call the first day and said, "Hey, you got to come down here because you got to clean up around this car." And he's going, "What do you mean?" He says, "Well, there are flash cubes surrounding this car. You've got to come down and keep this thing cleaned out." Because in those days, they had flash cubes.
Anybody that knows what flash cubes is, don't forget to get your walker out of the way when you get up to get a snack from the middle of the show here. It obviously has been drastically altered. There's no question that it's a 58 Corvette from the hood, but the grille is so different and the fins are a real exotic touch. I would think that you would run into people that loved it, and the purists may give you a rough time. What kind of reaction do you get to the redesign?
You know, it's kind of all around. I would say more people like it than don't, but the ones that don't really don't like it, but the ones that do really do like it.
Have anybody come up and say, "I remember that car from the World's Fair"?
All the time. I have people around my age that say, "Oh, I was a young kid and saw the car, and I've seen it's been in magazines," and they tell me all the time that they've seen it.
Powertrain on it?
It's a 350. It's got a 204R transmission, so we've got overdrive on the highway, which gives it a good ride.
Every time I see this, which is a lot, I run into a lot of shows in the Northwest, it's always just pristine and flawless. Do you just drive it to the show and back home, or do you really get to use this?
Oh, it's just a show car. It's my hobby, so I work on it in the wintertime and drive it just rarely, just mainly to shows.
Andy and Bunny Ochoa, this is a beautiful 1952 Chev cab over, cab forward. What do you call it?
It's a cab-over truck. It used to be. Now it's a cab-over pickup truck.
Well, all the cars that are here, this is the one that's drawing the most attention. This is just blowing everybody away.
Well, thank you very much.
How did this come about? Was this a rusting hulk under a tree in the woods somewhere, or did you have something good to start with?
Yes, I had a very good body to start with, hardly any rust on it. And so it originated in Reno. My wife and I would go to Reno for hot August nights, and we've seen several cab-over trucks in different configurations. And she liked the pickup truck configuration better than the flatbed truck, and that's where it started, and that's where we're at right now.
Bunny, does he have his facts straight?
Pretty close, yep.
What's it like driving something like this? Does it feel like a truck? You're just like a regular 52 Chev? You're just higher up in the air, or how is it?
It is higher up in the air, and the suspension and the seat, the upholstery on the seat is just absolutely perfect. It's wonderful. She has a real bad back, and she loves it.
Did she have the bad back before you bought this?
Oh, long before. Yeah.
What's the running gear in it?
It's a 350 ZZ3 engine, crate engine, and a turbo 350 transmission. And the rear end is a 77 Caprice 12-volt posse rear end, and the front end is a Mustang 2 clip from Art Morrison.
My memory of these types of trucks is for decades, since about, 57 or 60 or whatever, they were usually something rusting back behind a building somewhere, and nobody customized these. Nobody did anything to them, and about 5-6 years ago, people decided, hey, these things are kind of cool. Is that how you see it?
That's exactly it, yes.
It was sitting in a field when we found it. It was a farm truck.
This type of truck it's so different. And don't take offense to this, because I mean no offense. It's absolutely beautiful, but it's sort of almost a caricature of a pickup truck. It looks like an Ed Roth cartoon or something.
Yeah. Oh yeah. In the beginning, when they were in their original state, they looked so ugly. Nobody wanted them, But we had a vision of what we could do with it.
And how is it that they seemed ugly to us, and you put a good paint job on them, and I mean, the body is stock. I wonder what it is in our taste in the car hobby that decided that these were suddenly okay.
I don't know. We have a little Boston Terrier with a little pushed-in face, and that's what started it. I said, "Oh, honey, look, that truck looks just like our dog."
I think that's a good place to stop. It does look like a pushed-in dog face, and I mean that only complimentary. Thank you very much for being on the Vintage Vehicle Show. A beautiful truck. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Chuck Backman, this is a very nice 29 Ford pickup. I see you have a Deuce grill shell on there, yes, but a very traditional-looking car in a little bit different color. You don't see this kind of green, but it works on this. Tell us about it.
Well, it's a 29, like you said. I picked it up at a swap meet and made a few changes, changed the intake, put some nostalgic carburetors on it, fixed a few things, made it drivable, and I've had a lot of fun with it.
Your choice of pinstriping and kind of a traditional rat rod look, is that mostly what it looked like when you got it, or you decided to push a little bit farther that direction?
No, that's what it was. And the guy had a real good eye. The guy had a good eye, and I spotted it, and he needed to let it go. So I picked it up, and like I say, I did some technical work to make it dependable. Yeah.
Power plant on it?
It's a 327, 30 over. Simple deal. I put the nostalgic tunnel ram on it with a couple of 2 barrels just for the nostalgic look. And I think it looks good. I love it. People love it. Yeah.
Transmission, rear end?
Saginaw transmission, 4-speed, 8-inch Ford rear end. Yeah.
The trend in the hobby the last several years going to traditional hot rods or rat rods, if you want to call them that, has been, I think, a really healthy move in the hobby. Looking at this, you don't have a $20,000 paint job on it. Not everything is covered in chrome plating or billet. What's your thought on this segment of the hobby?
Well, I think it's less money and more fun. I really do. And it affords you the ability to drive them, and make a few changes, try to come up with something different. You'll notice that the alternator belt is a blower belt for the alternator. And it's just something different, just something different. Yeah.
I hadn't noticed that, but that's a really cool touch. The crowd that you run with, are you, when you came up with this, do all your buddies drive, 50s era? How does this fit in with the rest of the crowd?
I don't belong to any clubs. I know a lot of people around. I grew up in this town, and it's just, I know guys with classics, 50s. I love the 50s Tri-5 cars. I have one myself. I love the rat rods. I have a rat rod over here too. and I love this. And I love all cars. I don't think any iron should ever be crushed.
Well, thank you very much for being on the Vintage Vehicle Show. This is a
Lance.
very nice example of a traditional kind of hot rod. I like it a lot. Rick Lowe, I have a soft spot for 57 Fords. I have a soft spot for any station wagon. You have a combination of the two. It's very nice.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I've noticed on your show too that you've done interviews with several guys that have had 57s, but this is the third one I've had. I've had a 300, two-door hardtop, Fairlane 500, and then this one. I've had this one 22 years.
It's kind of hot roddy looking, but also pretty stock looking. You've redone the interior, but it looks like it's in kind of the original style, and then of course you have the wheels on it. What all have you done to it?
Well, the 312 that I had in it actually blew up on me 5 years ago.
Did you do anything to precipitate that, or did it do it on its own?
No, it did it on its own. It actually sat 15 years when I bought it, so everything was kind of not running too good. But I never had overhead oilers on it, so you know how the 312 were pretty bad for that.
So you weren't drag racing down Rainier Avenue in South Seattle or anything?
Oh, no. I was actually cruising on my way to Alki, and I was doing about 40 miles an hour, and the push rods just went down through the block and blew a big hole through it. So I called around a couple of days later and found it's a 5-liter 302 84, and it was a brand new rebuilt with a C4 transmission. So and so I had that put in, and that's been I think it's probably about 5,000 miles since I've done that, and I've had everything redone underneath. It's got the original 9-inch rear end that came with it with 389 gears.
So this is a Ford 9-inch rear end in a Ford.
Yes, it is, and Ford engine in a Ford, which is rare. And I've had several people, when they come to look at it, say, "Please let it be a Ford," and I said it is. So.
This is a Del Rio. Where does that fall in the pecking order of station wagons for 57 Fords?
Well, it's actually the elite one because of the trim, which is the same as the Ranchero. But the Del Rio was, they call it the ranch wagon, but the model was, I don't know where they come up, but I come up with that. But on 57ford.com, they have all the different classes, and it showed Del Rio, and I've had several people tell me that it was a Del Rio, and I'd never heard that until I looked it up on 57ford.com.
Station wagons have always had a following, but that following seems to have really grown in the last 10 and especially the last 5 years. Why do you think it is that they weren't the most sought after and now they're getting good money and a good fan base on station wagons?
I really don't know. I know that this one, of course, is very rare, the 2-door. But a lot of people, when in 57, when these came out, a lot of farmers bought these. And, of course, after they got through with them, not too many people wanted to buy them. So I noticed, I did live in Wyoming one time and seen a lot of these out on the farms, but sitting under trees and rotting away. So a lot of them got crushed, and so there wasn't too many of them left. And I bought this from the original owner over in West Seattle, and they wanted it out of the garage, and the old man that it belonged to, he died, and it sat 15 years after he died, and doesn't have power steering, so that's why she wouldn't drive it. I was lucky enough to do some plumbing work there, and she wanted it out of the garage, so I said, I'll take it.
Rick, I noticed over there under your nice shady awning on this 93-degree day that there's an awful lot of food over there.
Oh, yes.
Do you think we could go over and have a little snack?
Why, sure.
All right, let's go.
You betcha.
All right. We're going to get something to eat. What a great time we've had here in Lake Stevens, Washington at the Lake Stevens Aquafest Car Show. Wonderful cars, wonderful people, very nice day. A little too warm, but a great day. We hope you enjoyed the show, and if you did, tune in again next time. We'll have some great cars and some great people for you. Until then, see you later.